Japan up close.
Well, basically, here we are faced with a very similar predicament. So both Japan and the European Union essentially thrived in a situation in which, as I was saying earlier, the power prerogatives were really undertaken and taken care of, basically, by the United States. Now, we both continue to rely very heavily on the United States, particularly when it comes to security, and presumably this will continue to be the case moving forward. But both of us are faced with a growing question mark as to the extent to which we can exclusively rely upon the United States for our security concerns. So it's that very delicate sort of walking of the line between, on the one hand, continuing to foster a relationship with the United States, which obviously with this current US administration is perhaps a little bit harder than previous ones or perhaps even future ones, but here is basically the situation that we're in. So it's obviously a relationship that we have to keep on working on, but at the same time we can't stick our heads in the sand and simply assuming that the world will continue to be as it was for the last 70 years. So it is about building our own security and defenses. In Europe, a word that we use a lot at the moment is the word autonomy and strategic autonomy. And I think it's important to highlight what is it that this means and what is it that it does not mean. Autonomy, if we go back to the Greek etymology of the term, autonomos, basically means the ability of the self, of auto, of living by its laws. And its laws are domestic, in our case they're European, and they're international. So it's basically a protective understanding, if you like, of the term. It's not a protectionist, and it's certainly not an autarkic concept. But it's this balancing between building up your own capacities, but not in order to act on your own, but in order to be a better partner, beginning by the United States, which is, I think, a similar situation which we find ourselves in as Europeans and you find yourselves in as Japanese.
In today's world, there are an increasingly small number of medium powers which are really solid liberal democracies. Many of them are European, some of them are East Asian, and I think that really one thing that unites us, Japanese, French, German, Italians, British and some others, is that we are solid liberal democracies. I'm not sure that you can say the same about some other big countries, some big countries in Asia, and maybe also some big countries in the Western Hemisphere. So I think there is a kind of natural solidarity today between countries which have not yet been completely overtaken by the virus of populism. There is a political virus also. Of course, none of our countries is immune, but at least those established liberal democracies which have a strong tradition of democracy should work together, irrespective of what is happening in the United States, in China, or in India for that matter. So that natural solidarity is something we should nurture, Europe and Japan in particular.
I think both Japan and Europe are dependent on productive multilateral cooperation, and they can work together with like-minded countries to strengthen multilateral cooperation. We've done so in the Alliance for Multilateralism, for example, where we say we work together to strengthen multilateralism where it's under attack. We try to deepen it and reform it where it needs reforming, and we also go into new areas such as technology that have been unregulated so far. And I think that's something that Japan and Europe can do together, working with like-minded countries to stand up for our interests, values, and to address common challenges.
Japan up close.